She had simply forgotten to fasten her seatbelt before falling asleep on the plane, never imagining that this small mistake would end up saving her life. When a sudden jolt violently shook her awake, she looked out the window, only to see fighter jets roaring past the aircraft. The sight stunned her, her eyes widening in disbelief. A massive impact tore the plane apart in an instant, ripping the fuselage into pieces. The woman was flung into the plane's central section, its strongest structural point. As the shattered aircraft plummeted downward, she used every ounce of strength she had, desperately trying to grab the jagged ceiling panels. But the force of the rushing air was far too powerful. Someone as physically fragile as her had no chance of resisting it. What no one could have predicted was that, after being blasted by a wave of dense mist and turbulence, she was miraculously pushed onto a nearby seat. Without stopping to think, she scrambled to fasten the seatbelt behind her, hands shaking. Forcing herself to swallow her fear, she began praying over and over again, hoping for any kind of miracle. Moments later, the plane drifted down like a torn leaf, crashing into an endless stretch of towering rainforest. When she finally woke from unconsciousness, she was sitting amid a pile of twisted, broken wreckage. She couldn't believe what had just happened was real, but the stabbing pain in her lower leg, where a steel rod had pierced straight through, ripped her back into the cold reality of the moment. Without time to think, she forced down her rising panic, unbuckled the seatbelt, and gripped the metal rod protruding from her leg with both hands. She knew with absolute clarity that if she didn't deal with the bleeding immediately, her life would soon be in danger. Once the worst of the pain subsided, she tore a strip from her dress and carefully wrapped it around her calf, hoping it would slow the bleeding. Then, using every bit of strength she had left, she staggered to her feet. She began shouting toward the surrounding debris, praying to hear her husband respond. But the cabin around her remained eerily silent, terrifyingly still, except for the lifeless body of a fellow passenger not far away.